how to sell a condo in a tough market, especially when the condo building itself has imperfections such as lawsuits in the status certificate. Hi everyone in here. We sold a unit in ICE Condo recently. ICE Condo is one of those popular, well-known short-term rental buildings in downtown Toronto. It's very well located next to Union Station, connects to Path, walkable to the financial district. It's a great location, but because the building is very popular amongst Airbnb investors, the concierge of the building actually can do a short-term rental check-in function. So that makes the building good and bad, right? Like some investors really like it because it gives them the flexibility to be able to do short-term rentals, even though Toronto has many short-term rental laws that are making it more difficult to run Airbnb. But for end users who wants to enjoy peace and quiet, it is often a bigger challenge, right? To purchase a unit in a building with this function. So for when we listed our unit, there's actually 40 other units for sale in the same two buildings, which makes the sale of our unit very, very challenging because there's so many competitors. And also, to make matters worse, ICE Condo actually has a few lawsuits in the status certificate. And that could scare away many buyers because their lawyers would advise them against purchasing the building because of these higher risk factors that can be seen in the status certificate. So to sell this building, we actually did lots of preparation in renovation. We make sure the unit is carpet free. We repainted the walls. We repaired all the little cracks in the ceilings, and just to make sure the unit is move-in ready and refreshed, right? To make sure the buyer has no reason to not buy the unit because of something they don't like in the unit. We did thorough cleaning, for the unit, even the balcony, all the glasses, front and back, and even the outside, just to make sure to give all the potential buyers a really good first impression, because that matters. For first-time home buyers, we as sellers may think, oh, it's pretty easy to do a condo renovation, right? It doesn't cost a lot, it's pretty quick. But for buyers, you got to think about their tenants, right? They used to be tenants. It's first-time buyers who are buying their first home. So a lot of them actually have never done a renovation or even painted the wall in their lifetime. For them, they may over-exaggerate or overestimate the cost of doing an actual renovation, even as small as changing the floors and painting the walls, right? In their mind, it's a much bigger project because they have had little experience in this aspect. And for investors who generally wants to enjoy cash flow from their purchase, they don't want to sink in another chunk of money to purchase an investment unit unless they find a really good deal and pick up like a really low ball price, right? Which you don't want to do that either. So that's why like a solid preparation, renovation for condos is actually quite important, especially when there's so many competitors, because in the same building, you want to make sure your unit, in terms of the quality of your unit, stands out in the top 10-20%, right? So your competitor is actually a lot less because buyers will only consider your unit against other units who are move-in ready, and they're not going to compare against those non-move-in ready units because these are the buyers who don't want to do the actual work. And there's a lot of them nowadays because investors are still recovering from the last 2 years of financial challenge. So now the majority of the buyers are actually end users. Same thing for our unit, right? The buyer for our unit is actually an end user who's gonna buy this unit for themselves to use. And for the status certificate, because there's lawsuits in there, we actually pre-ordered the status certificate. We actually are very upfront and transparent about what's going on in the building. And we did our analysis. We talked to the management office to better understand what's the situation of these lawsuits and, what's the progress and what's the likelihood of like these events, the lawsuits being lost or win. What's the likelihood of like each scenario, right? And how would it impact our reserve funds? How much the insurance may cover? We actually did a lot of research. So when the buyer's agent come and ask us about it, we actually give them the status certificate. We actually explain to them what's in the status certificate and why these are problems that we can potentially overcome by negotiating the right price, and what's the level of risk the buyers will assume by purchasing a unit knowing these lawsuits exist. So in the end, when the buyers make their offer, they've already seen the status certificate. Their agent already explained these potential issues. So when they see their lawyer, they're not going to freak out the first time they hear about this, right? Because imagine you're a buyer, you go to your lawyer, and the first time you hear about these problems, you're going to get scared, right? You're like, oh my God, I made a wrong decision. I should not have bought it. But if you see them ahead of time, they actually know what's going on and they actually can properly assess the risk. So later on, when they make the offer and they see their lawyer later, they're no longer as surprised, right? They know what's going on. So this way, we actually are able to help the buyers to overcome these fears towards the lawsuits in the status certificate. So when they make the offer, they were able to quickly firm up on the conditions because they've already been explained the risk and opportunities in this deal. So that even though the offer was conditional, they firmed up really quickly. Lawyer review passed and financing condition passed. So we're able to get a firm deal fairly quickly, and we're actually able to get an offer price that's higher than our asking price. And that's part of our strategy to make sure that we are priced attractively so that when we actually do the negotiation, we actually able to achieve a good results for both sides and able to sell the unit relatively quickly as well. Because in this market, if you don't study the market well and the list is way too high, and compared to the other units in the building, you're like, let's say the second half of the listing price, you may not even get these opportunities because in these buildings, it's usually 1 or 2 sale per month, right? So when that one or two serious buyers come to your building, you want to make sure you capture their attention and they want to make an offer and negotiate with your unit first, especially if you have a relatively urgent sense of timing, right? To want to sell quickly, you want to make sure your pricing strategy also makes sense. Okay, so congrats to our sellers. We're able to sell the unit relatively quickly, above asking price, and we're able to get the conditions firmed up relatively quickly as well to hedge the risk. So just wanted to share the story so you know how these deals happen. They're not just as easy as flipping a number, get an offer, get it accepted. There's actually a lot of details in all the communication and negotiation that happens to facilitate each deal from beginning to end. Okay, so hopefully this helps you a little bit if you're selling your condo and having troubles. Just think about these details, right? It may help you to make sure that the deals don't fall through. The pre sort of analysis and preparation, learning what's going on in your building so you can properly explain to potential buyers the risk and opportunities in your condo building, right? If there's any imperfections in the status certificate, make sure you understand it first. Don't leave it to the buyer and their lawyer to find out, right? You gotta, as a seller, as a listing agent, gotta find out first so that you know how to explain these to the buyers so that they don't find it surprising later on when they hear it from their lawyer, right? So this is a key point, okay? So yeah, congrats to our sellers. Until next time.